I'm actually a nice person. I really am. Can change a light bulb these days, so that's lucky.
I'm here to win. No one's taking this crap from me. No chance. I worked hard for this. Hello guys, I'm joined today with the lovely Professor Bart Kay, physiologist and nutritionist, based in New Zealand, back from his trip. We're going to be talking today specifically about autism, the carnivore diet, the biology, biochemistry, any other useless stuff, and Bart Kay is going to give his excellent insights and anecdotes towards what he found is most useful for mitigating symptoms of autism. And I'll share my 2 cents as well, and maybe have some commonalities. But thank you very much for joining, Bart. I'd just like you to briefly just mention about your autism, any diagnosis you have. Is it self-diagnosed? At what point did it click and you thought, I'm nuts? Or just a bit diverse?
All right, Jonathan, good to see you, mate. And yeah, as always, it's a pleasure to cross-pollinate with you. Yeah, autism. My particular brand of autism is a thing called pathological demand avoidance syndrome, PDA? Yeah. I've only got a problem with 2 of those words, pathological and syndrome. It's just demand avoidance, actually. That's very parsimonious, to be fair. What it boils down to is if somebody tells me I must do something in a certain way, you can bet your bottom quid that I'm going to want to do it the other way or any other way. I'm going to resist any attempt to control me by anyone, including me. That's, yeah. One of these things that I came across as an adult, I was well into my 40s when it came to light that this was probably the situation for me. How did it come about? My lovely partner, Pim, said to me, do you know what? I think you've got this thing. And she sent me this descriptor of pathological demand avoidance syndrome. And it was like, this is a descriptor of a person who has this particular wiring. And I read the thing and I was like, oh, somebody's written the story about me. I thought Pim was taking the piss and she'd written it, sort of thing. And I was like, you're taking the piss here, love, aren't you? This is something you've, And she's, no, I found this online and I read it and I thought, And I too read it and I thought, yeah. So I went and talked to someone in the NHS. I was in the UK at the time and said, what do you think? And they said, yeah, it's pretty difficult to make a diagnosis. I mean, it's not like something you can take a blood test for. But look, this looks like what it is. And, I'm happy to sign off on that that's what it is. The exact ramifications of it for you as an adult person are absolutely none. Basically, we've got nothing for you. There's no support. If you were a child, we could help, but you're not.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, good luck. Hopefully this helps you navigate the world a bit better, whatever. But I was just left to my own. Good old NHS, eh? Good stuff. So that's where it is with me. What have I found that helps? Carnivore diet. And my theory around that is that the carnivore diet being the most anti-inflammatory, the most species-appropriate, species-specific diet for a human, tends to place any given human in the best possible likelihood, I think, of expressing whatever processes that go on for them less, be those physical illnesses, psychological issues, such as various forms of autism, whatever else. And that's what I found. I found that it helped. I've also found that taking cereal products helped. Don't know how. I really don't. I can't give you a mechanism. Electrical grounding and earthing, taking care of blue light after dark for the most part, and a bit of exercise. My 5 health hacks that I'm always banging on about. So that's really it in a nutshell. In terms of what is autism, well, it varies because there's a spectrum of different things that people call autism. In the same way that, like, there's this thing called asthma that people say, oh, I've got asthma. That's not one thing. That's an umbrella term for a whole bunch of different respiratory conditions that lead to a similar sort of set of symptomologies. My understanding of autism is it's a hard wiring issue. It's a way that a person is born. Their brain is wired up in a certain way. And then from that point, it's managing that. If managing that is what you want to do. And the best time to have an impact on that is in childhood. Beyond that, it's out with my experience, really. It just is. On the flip side of it, people that express various forms of this kind of autism tend to also express more than average intelligence. They can become a bit of what's called idiot savants, whereas they know absolutely everything about a particular area of specialization, and outside of that, not really much about anything. They're kind of like
can't change a light bulb sort of thing.
That's it. Pretty useless outside of knowing everything about, whatever it is that they've decided that they're going to know everything about. So I'm kind of a bit that way. I can change a light bulb these days, so that's lucky. But that's really my take on the autism thing. And a lot of people that talk to me these days that don't know about it wouldn't immediately go to it and guess. They wouldn't say, because you have to know me quite well to read this descriptor of pathological demand avoidance syndrome and go, shit, that's Bart Kay in a nutshell. Yeah, I mean, you'd have to know me. But if you're just talking to me as someone that just either knows me a little bit or not at all, they wouldn't guess, as far as I'm aware. They'd often just think I'm a highly intelligent and probably quite arrogant, they would think, individual. And by the way, let's look at arrogance for a moment. The definition of that. Arrogance is inappropriate over self-confidence. Okay. My self-confidence in the fields in which I am expert is not inappropriate. It's not overconfidence. I absolutely have the runs on the board in the areas that I talk about.
If you can back it up, for sure, yeah.
Then it's not arrogance. Just because I'm very sure of myself, people are conflating being very sure of yourself with being arrogant, not being humble, or whatever. I'm actually really humble in areas that I don't know about for that exact reason, because I don't know. Anyway, there you go. Jonathan.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I mean, there's linking to bodybuilding just very briefly. There's a bodybuilder called Phil Heath. He won 7 consecutive Mr. Olympia world titles. I think when he's approaching his 5th or 6th, at that point, it's like, will you beat everyone in the world 5 or 6 times over with straight first votes for the majority of the time? In what case are you going to say, well, I'm going to turn up just to participate? No, you're going to say, I'm here to win. No one's taking this crap from me. No chance. I worked hard for this. And he's very talented, very skillful, worked really hard, and is way ahead of the game because although approaching him, looking at him, you'd think, oh, he's extroverted, he's this. He could even be autistic. He just might be really good at masking. So that could be it. I mean, I do notice with yourself, I knew quite a few years ago you're autistic of some kind in some sort of description. And I thought, oh, this is quite relatable in a way because he's very concise, but he also wants more out of the information. It's more about getting to the crux of the matter rather than the issue of actually being wrong. I get people in my videos all the time say, they'll make a comment about something I said in a video, and I'm like, yeah, I did actually say that in the video because my videos are very complete. It's just they failed to listen to all 5 minutes of it. I find that very frustrating because I did deliver on my promise. I did deliver on what I said I'd do. And how has your experience been on the sort of side of masking? I mean, at what point did you turn around and say, okay, I understand what masking is. Maybe this is something I'm doing. Maybe, like you said, you're hardwired. You've been brought up a certain way. 40 whatever years later, you come across PIM. Oh, you're a bit neurodivergent of some kind. When did the idea of masking come across to you, and how does that make you feel? Because a lot of people, I mean, like myself, I struggle to explain how I feel around certain people. There's very few people that know me on a deep personal kind of level, maybe 5 to 10 people max in my life. Yeah. So how did the masking come about, if you know that at all?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because as a child and as an adolescent through my teenage years, and actually even through my 20s in a different way, it was all theatre, singing, dancing, guitar playing, singing in bands, that kind of stuff. It was always performance art. So I expressed myself that way. And then off stage, I was the reserved, the holding back, the very, very small group of close friends, if any, from time to time, because I was usually very misunderstood by other children.
Perceived as difficult, maybe.
Absolutely perceived as whatever it is. I had this one group that I was involved in as a young person where all my friends were who understood me and nobody questioned who I was. That's just who I was, and that was fine. And I was respected there. I was a leader there. And that was actually the Order of St. John, the first aid organisation. At school, I probably had between 0 and 2 friends, depending what year we're talking about and what school we're talking about, that I would consider close friends. Almost never would I go to another child's house or they'd come to mine. But come school drama production time, I mean, in my sixth form year, and that's year 12,
13,
that work in freedom units, I actually wrote our school's drama production with a small group of other kids as well who were also in the intelligent kids stream. Absolutely. There were about 6 of us, including the music was written by us. It was not just the words, that the music was written by us. And then we went ahead and we actually directed the thing under the foresight of one of the teaching staff who became the producer of the thing. And some of those people are still friends. And I think many of them are also touched when I think about it. But yeah, that was my masking, was projecting at that time what absolutely was arrogance at that time, because I didn't know dick about fuck. I was a kid, but I knew everything about everything and nobody could tell me anything about anything. And I was the man, despite being a very small child, a very small adolescent. And as it turns out, now I'm a very small adult in terms of physical stature. And, I'm 5'6", for those that want to know, and about 140 pounds. But I project this, confidence and whatever. But, when I'm talking about science these days, you can bet that the runs are on the board and what I say is correct. Because I spent 20 years making damn sure that I was unassailable. And people who are much more educated than the average bear have had a crack over the years. You can trust me, they've had a go. And nobody's got it done yet. Example, even just this in the last couple of days, my little furry yellow friend who tends to speak his mind using very short words often on the platform formerly known as Twitter, has been engaging with a professor of nutrition science who thinks epidemiology is science. Been having that, well, not I've, Ted has been having that discussion with this bloke. And this is, as far as I can tell, this is a bona fide professor of nutrition, so-called science. And just the destitution of scientific understanding and knowledge in this particular individual is stunning. And this is supposedly a professor. Just absolutely, utterly lacking in any ability to critically analyze anything or even think about what he's saying. Just spouting the most inane garbage that you could possibly imagine. Anyway,
how does that make you feel, out of interest?
Oh, here we go. How does it make you feel?
Painful? Is it painful, Bart? Like the idea that someone's spouting nonsense and you're like, they're like, no, you're incorrect and here's why. And it's like, you're hitting a wall. Like it's not, nothing's going
in. Right. So I guess there's kind of 2 threads there. Within myself, it's a feeling of, I guess, loneliness in a way that God, is there nobody in the world who actually can comprehend this material? Because it's really, for me, it's really straightforward. It's really obvious. It's so painfully obvious. It sticks out like dog's bollocks. What's wrong with this so-called epidemiological science? Why it's not science? And it stuns me that these people want to, I guess, defend this stuff as if it's science. So, oh no, this is a perfectly valid branch of science, and this is able to tell us about cause and effect and all of this kind of, when it absolutely cannot. So it's kind of, I don't know if you've ever seen like Team America World Police, the movie, where they've got this character that's the Kim Jong-il character, and he's got this, oh, I'm sorry, Ronry. Casual racism, I get that, but
a little bit.
He's poor little Ronry man because he's so intelligent and everybody else isn't. I kind of feel like that, and it's like I almost see myself sitting on those bleachers singing that Ronry song that he sings in that movie a bit. So that's how I am inside. But what I'm projecting, because the mask, the act, the character that I'm playing has to belligerently and offensively, and I know it's offensive and I don't give a fuck. I'm doing it because it's an act, and
that's the point. You wouldn't do it otherwise, yeah.
That's right. This is the whole point. And so I'm absolutely cutting these idiots' legs out from underneath them, not because I'm a horrible person and I need to try and feel superior in some way or whatever. That's got nothing to do with it. This is a performance piece, and frankly, these people make themselves a viable, fair target by being arrogant, because it's them that's arrogant and coming online and saying, I know all about this. I'm an expert here, and I'm going to tell you that this is valid science. Okay, Charlie Brown, let's analyze that. And then I flip the switch, I turn on the act, and I cut these people's legs out, and I use short words. And just because I might refer to next Tuesday, that doesn't actually make what I'm saying wrong, does it? But somehow that does. Oh, you're wrong because you called somebody a short word, It's incredible to me.
Usually.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I have my own personal experience with coming across content online, things I read and hear. The current one is there's a guy, I think his name's Professor or Dr. Eric Helms. You may have heard of him. He's been quite big in the industry of nutrition, mostly the bodybuilding, natural bodybuilding space, for about 10 years. If he had to pick 5 people, he'd be in the top most notorietable sort of thing. Okay. And he made a video which was 15 minutes long about, I think it was protein intakes or training. And I was like, this is way off. This is so far off. It's disgusting. But the thing is, I look back to myself when I was, younger, maybe 18, training sort of thing, didn't really know what I was doing, natural, whatever. And I was watching that sort of thing and I was absorbing the information, I was writing notes, and I was like, if I didn't do this, I'll be further ahead right now. And that's what I find frustrating. So the best we can do, I guess, is just put the content out there. And you've managed to successfully find your niche where you're drawing the viewers in. I mean, sometimes you're getting 200-300 views in a live video and a premiere. And once we even had well over 1,000 with the young gentleman, which we're debating. Well, you're debating. Sorry, that was good fun. But yeah, I think it's very tricky as an autistic person on YouTube to create content that's helpful to a lot of people. So a lot of the time, my sense of humor is very well masked, so I'll often not express it. So what I'll actually sometimes do is I'll be like, type into ChatGPT, write me a joke for this kind of YouTube video script or video that relates to this and this. And I'll just copy it in and I'll say it at some point in the video and it'll be a good draw for people. But it's not what comes naturally to me. My natural sense of humor is quite dry, quite hidden. I can get quite callous at times with some of my stuff. It's not the sort of thing you'd put online. But
I would. That's the difference between you and me. I'd just do it.
Yeah, I mean, I've enjoyed your approach for sure over the years, and I'm gravitating slightly more towards it. But I obviously don't have the experience or depth of knowledge in nutrition specifically. You definitely need not nutrition to sort of really go into the details about, the studies that we do have, this, that, and the other. So I'm sort of enjoying learning from you, and it's been an absolute pleasure. So if anyone's watching this right now and they just want, to get hold of Bart Kay, he does have a link, which I'll put below in the chat as well. Awesome. Before we continue this discussion, I'd like to also point out he does obviously have a YouTube channel. He's surpassed 50k subs now, which is absolutely excellent. But in my opinion, he's worthy of whatever Mike Israel has, +1. And whatever he has, +1 after that as well.
Yeah. Do I deserve as many as Greg Douchebag?
Oh, no. No. No, you need to sell more supplements, Bart. You need to sell a lot more supplements.
I'm doing my best. There it is.
Yeah. Introducing Beef Up Carnivore Bodybuilding Bible. The ultimate guide for men and women to lose fat and build muscle. And the best part, it's only $12. Don't miss out on the most detailed resource available. Get a copy now at compositionconsultant.com. So guys, that's that'll be below in the chat as well, in the description.
Yeah. Look, my particular audience is very niche. It's a very cult audience. It's a band of people who actually have become a family around my YouTubes, my offerings online. And, I've got to know some of them really quite well, electronically. Some of them I've actually even met in real life. For example, the lovely Dr. Sarah Pugh has been to my home several times when she's been in New Zealand. She's let me know when she's going to be in New Zealand. And I've said, look, come down, drop by the farm. We'll make a video. She sat in this office that I'm sitting in right now beside me. We made a video together, and she was harassing Ted. It was disgraceful. Disgraceful it was, I'm telling you. And you want to talk about dry sense of humor. There's another one for you. She's pretty dry as well. It's pretty funny.
Oh, yeah. You won't even know she's told do a nasty joke.
That's right. You won't even get it.
She'll hit you.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so that's that. Yeah. So very niche audience, partly because, I think there is absolutely, definitely a group of people that are attracted to what I do and how I do it. And there are a lot of, I'm like the Marmite of the YouTube world, if you like. People either love what I do or they absolutely hate it. And that's fine with me, whatever. So there is that. But there's also the handbraking, the shadow banning, the interference being run by the various platforms that host our videos that decide how popular we are allowed to be. I think if my channel was allowed to organically attract its true level of niche audience, which I understand will still be niche and will still be smaller than some mainstream promoters, absolutely. But I think it would be bigger than it is if they weren't running that interference. I really do. That's for another day as well, though. But it's just out there that people need to understand that when we come online and we say, please like our video, please share our video to your social media, please help. We're not saying that for the sake of it. We're saying that because we need your help. If you're on my side or on Jonathan's side and you like what we're doing, help us. You don't have to put your hand in your pocket, although that's nice too. For free, you can share our stuff out to your social media and say, hey, look, this is a bit niche. Absolutely. You can even disclaim it. Hey, this guy uses short language, but I tell you what he says is bang on the nose. Prove him wrong. In fact, that's the challenge that I often throw out. Prove me wrong. Go on. Come and debate me. Richard Burgess wouldn't do it, among others. Maybe we can talk about that.
We could talk about that a little bit, yeah. So about a week ago, I wasn't in a good state, but I'm not using that as an excuse. But the way I come across in the video, which you guys can see on his channel, Vegan Gains, or my channel, I'll release it soon. But I come across very dazed out, and it almost lackadaisical. But only because I've seen him debate so many times, I know where he's going with his answers, and it's like butting heads. And I'm like, well, he's made 3 points. I've remembered one of his points that he's made, tackled it. Then there's 2 other points I can't remember. Then he bombards you with more stuff, more studies on the screen, lots of big words. And I'm like, okay, well, it's so a lot of it's so reductionist, epidemiology. It's exactly what you'd expect. Yeah. But that's part of the problem. So the best we can do, and people that just view us, is like you said, like, comment, and share, subscribe, all that sort of stuff. And each thing that you do has a numerical value of how much it helps us. So liking it might mean X amount percentage reach. Commenting might be more. Sharing it, perhaps someone else watches it in your family. Well, that's even more. And if you watch our ads, and if we pay for YouTube Premium, we still get money for that, which does seriously help. It's been an interesting ride. I mean, what are your plans for the future as someone who has been very consistent with their messaging? Are you looking to diversify your content at all, your message, your stance on things? Is there anything you've looked back on and think, I'm humbled here, I'd like to do this differently? Or because you're like me, you're a progressive kind of mind. You're not a laid back kind of.
Look, in terms of my message regarding human physiology, nutrition, those kind of topics, my message, as you say, Jonathan, has been from the beginning absolutely consistent and persistent. I haven't changed in a meaningful way at all anything I've said from the beginning. Maybe I've tweaked the message a bit to make it more comprehensible, but the message itself remains the same. And I don't see that changing in the future if I'm going to continue to bang on about this. Because at the end of the day, when I bring up my YouTube back office, if you like, it says, all right, who's making what videos this week? It gives you a list. Just like when those of you who are not creators who bring up your YouTube and you get what videos there are, we get the same, tailored to our particular area. And when I look through those thumbnails of those videos every week, it's the same fucking thing every fucking week without let or hindrance. It's the same people making the same videos, saying the same things rightly or wrongly. And my thing is, people probably know, one of my big things is a brand of videos called Who's Wrong on the Interwebs, where I'm basically just berating someone for being wrong. And I'll play their video through from start to finish. No, that's wrong. No, that's wrong. No, wrong again. This is why that's wrong. Right through. And then the next week, that same person will post another video saying the exact same thing again, even though I know full well they have watched my video and they know they're wrong. But
word gets round for sure. I mean, I made a video about you like 2 weeks ago. Yeah. And the title was Bart Kay is wrong. Picture of me like doing a pose. Some like masking tape across your mouth. And the thing was, I deliberately did that to spite, not you, but spite the audience a little bit, to trick them a little bit. So
clickbait. Absolutely.
It's just clickbait. The reality is you said something, you had probably a half a minute time frame to elaborate on what you said. I picked on that, so I did what other people do. I picked on it and said, but then at the end of it, and I sort of criticised it, made my own personal anecdote, judgment, experience. At the end of the video, I said, I don't actually think this guy's a moron. He had like 30 seconds to create an answer, and that's a pretty good answer considering. So it's part of the game. It's not something I like to do. I'm not a big fan, but it is part of the game.
Yeah. Now, I feel a bit the same way about making the Who's Wrong on the Interwebs videos, because at the end of the day, while ever I'm, I guess, undermining somebody's argument, people take that personally. And there's nothing personal. Most of the people that I'm critiquing, I've never met. Some of them I've met.
And the insults are the same.
Oh, of course.
If it was a guy that was bold, coloured skin, this, that, and the other, glasses, freckly, whatever, and you said, "Oh, this guy's this," yeah, that's picking. So, but if you just call someone a cocksplat, it's quite a generic term that you use so frequently now that it's part of your vocabulary that it shouldn't be offensive. It's just like saying, "Oh, you're an idiot." It doesn't mean
exactly. It's part of the act. Anywho, that aside, if I'm going to change anything in the future, I would really like to make more instructive, more showing my knowledge videos and less this bluster and everybody else in the world is wrong stuff. I'll tell you what the issue with it is. I'll give you an example. We'll flesh this out with an example too to prove my point. I had an exchange with Dr. James de Nicolantonio over 5 or 6 videos several months ago, where he came online and he made a statement that is fundamentally, absolutely, and demonstrably false about acid-base balance. And I made a video saying, here is the absolute, undeniable indication that James is wrong on this. And he made a video absolutely proving that Bart Kay it's wrong.
They're
And
just
I
like that.
responded, and exactly like that. And I responded to his video saying, well, here's why you haven't proved a damn thing, James. Here's why you're still wrong. And he came back with, and it's the same, and he came back with the same stuff again, which I had to dismiss again. And this went on until we both got sick of it, I guess, and that nobody was watching. But that got some views. And I thought, well, okay, instead of doing this, why don't I then go back and make the actual instructional videos that actually flesh out what I'm saying? Let me explain the science properly over half a dozen videos, 30 to 45 minutes or less each. I'll start now. I'll make the first two. The first one got 6,000 views. The second one got maybe 3,000 views or something like that. So I stopped making
pants. Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
For your size channel,
I turn around and I make a video saying Lily Kane is wrong. 30,000 views because I said Lily Kane is wrong about something.
Was the thumbnail quite interesting?
Well, sure. Maybe she's sat there in a bikini.
That probably helped a bit.
Maybe I should make thumbnails of myself sat there in a bikini.
Yeah.
Sexy as fuck.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, so sure, thumbnails help, but at the end of the day, I mean, a video still, okay, you click on it, fine, but if the video's pants, you're not going to watch it for more than a minute or two. You're going to click off, and the algorithm's going to pick that up, and that video will not get 30,000 views, even if it's got a good thumbnail. I can't win, Jonathan. People say to me, why are you making all these videos? Why are you so rude to people? Why are you so arrogant? All this bullshit, right? And I say, well, okay, I'll just make and I've got another channel, another YouTube channel, where it's all collar, all tie, all professorial. Nobody's a cocksplat or a cock lunch or a fuck monkey or any of those kind of things. It's just the facts. It's got 5,000 subs and nobody fucking watches. So I stopped putting videos up there.
Yeah, at the end of the day, as creator, we do look for our analytics very, very closely. We operate it like we operate our businesses. So we have different pieces of data analysis. Yeah, it's part of business. It's not a large chunk of our income by any means. Like it's disproportionately low income per unit of time, as we found out very clearly. But it's if Bart has a consistent, 10,000 views on a reaction video of some sort. Okay, he knows he's going to get about 10,000 views. Well, he's going to impact more people, so he's actually being selfless by doing that because he's going to reach more people. Whereas if he chances it and goes all round the roses, it's not gonna have the same impact. But one thing Bart does do, which is quite unique, is his reaction videos are as it happens, minute by minute, real time. There's very, very, very few jump cuts ever, which is hard to do because I do these reaction videos as well. And it just shows that you understand what you're saying and you're concise about what you're saying because you can hit the button, pause, unpause, go. Most people have to clip it out and they'll be heavily edited. And that's just not feasible, guys, for most of us to do. We edit our own videos for the most part. Some people have bigger channels and they can afford to edit. Bart does now, I believe.
Well, I had an editor, but we had a difference of understanding in terms of what was required. So now I don't have an editor anymore. So if anybody wants to edit my videos for me, the requirements are that you use DaVinci software because we will collaborate and I will have the final say on everything because I'm a control freak. And number two, the other qualification for editing my videos is this. Do as you're fucking told. Okay?
That means no experimental, I want to try this out because it might help.
Yeah,
Bart wants what he's paying for.
That's right. Yeah. I'm paying for it and I'm telling you what I want. Do it. That's all.
Yeah, that's a fair show.
If that sounds like you, get in contact. I'd love to have someone edit my videos because it does my head in editing. It really does.
I would personally, if I had one of your 45-minute reaction videos, it would take me, the way I would do it, based on how I have done it, it would take about 9 to 10 hours. Yeah,
that's about how long it takes me to do.
Yeah.
Because the people think that because I run a YouTube channel that I'm technically savvy. God, no.
Our biggest fights are with tech.
Oh, God. Look, people my age grew up without cell phones. We used to run around the countryside without phones was a thing that was in somebody's house or in a public box somewhere, hardwired. We didn't even have that. So people that have grown up with that tech, you think this is just second nature and just part of life. And, what's my problem? Well, my problem is I had to learn this stuff post 40 years of age. It's hard. It's, anyway, that's for another day.
Yeah, if anyone's sort of doubting if Bart Kay is a generous person or a helpful person, he is very helpful. Anytime I've asked him for advice on something, even just off the cuff, he's been, most forthcoming. I remember when you got me started to use OBS, and that's obviously transformed my content quite a bit. I was stuck in the olden days using just recording through Zoom and just hoping that I didn't fuck up the words too much. And that was it. That was my editing. Maybe put an outro at the end. But now we're getting more advanced, more tech savvy. Luckily, the tech is getting better now. We have some AI stuff, a bit patchy, admittedly, but you can do some things with it, not too bad. Yeah, I mean, I've enjoyed this discussion a lot, and I hope it draws attention to the fact that there are autistic people on the carnivore diet. There are people out there. One of my friends, subscribers as well, Julia, she's just recently started a autistic carnivores channel. I believe she's got something like 300 subs, so check her out. She'll probably watch this and comment below, but she has 3 autistic children. I'll put the link below. Yeah. So, and she's got 3 autistic children, and she's autistic herself, and she's looking to just make a start on things. So, like Bart passed his knowledge forward to me and skill set and different things, I can then pass that forward to her. Then, autistic carnivore people in this space, it gives people enough of a viable option. Because when you type things like that, and now you get Chafee, me, maybe you, maybe 2-3 other people that are autistic in the carnivore online YouTube space. And the more of the people that are out there, the more things will get seen. So it will only help. And when Bart says, it's a cross-pollination thing, it really is. Some of my best videos have been with Bart. And then it's bounced back and forth. So perhaps he's talked about a topic to do with training one day or exercise. Perhaps I've got a video before about how cardio in excess is bad for you, something like that. So it's all very helpful. But yeah, the community at large is quite segregated, quite cliquey, I guess, in some senses. There's probably about 4 or 5 people that I'm quite close with in the community online. Have you found the same yourself, Bart? I mean, who do you favour to collaborate with? Obviously, Edward and,
Yeah, so what I found is that as things have developed, like any faction, so at the start, we were all carnivores together when we were all a family, and it was us against the vegans, right? Because there was the people that were on a standard diet who were on the fence and whose hearts and minds were available to us to win over. And then other than that, it was us versus the vegans, and we were much smaller than the vegans in numbers at that time. And they were fucking idiots, and they still are. And we knew everything, and we still do. And they feel the same way about us. Only they think they've got some science to support their position when they don't. Anyway, that's also for another day. As it's now gone along, it's drifted along in time for about 6 years that I've been doing this. The carnivore community itself, like any faction, has itself factionated into various factions. So now we have the hardcore carnivores who think anyone that even looks at a piece of plant material ever in their life should hand their card in and should be named and shamed. They never were a carnivore and they did it wrong. Does that sound familiar? And they're imbeciles. And then you've got the raw tards who think if you cook meat, you're a fucking slave. You're nothing to do with carnivore, and you should look at sun and earth is flat. Those kind of fucking idiots, right? Imbeciles. You've got the
challengers.
Tards. The challengers? Who are they? Which ones are they?
The sardine fasts, the
the ones
whatever
that
comes up.
Oh god, yes. The next
doctor
stupid
says something about eating one thing that isn't sustainable. Yeah. Everyone jumps on it because you can follow what you're doing with a number on a ketone strip.
Yeah, and then you've got the Pete Tards, headed up in the community. Really, it seems by Paul Salad. I don't know, and some of the other.
They seem to be younger, from my experience.
Well, yeah, as are the Rawtards, are a younger crowd, a more impressionable crowd, a less credible crowd, a crowd without the knowledge and wisdom to critically analyze even what they're saying themselves. They're just, they are people who are attracted to being occultist in any way. Whatever. So we seem to have that. So who do I kind of relate to? Who is good? And that also leads back to the question about how I might improve what I'm doing in the future as well. We have Dr. Chafee is spot on with pretty much everything he's got to say.
Yeah.
Edward Gokey is pretty spot on with most of what he says to say. Why is that? Well, because I'm training him. Let's be honest. That's obvious. To anyone that doesn't see that, that's why I call him Mini-Me.
Yeah.
All right. We have a weekly call at least where he asks me questions, and his intellect is stunning to me, frankly, even. He's about the only person I've met who's actually I would consider to be close to where I'm at in terms of his ability to get it and comprehend and know things. So he's good. Yourself, obviously. Sean Baker was with us, but he's joined one of these factions, unfortunately. He's with the lean mass hyper-responder crowd, and he's gone with those academics that are pushing that barrow, led by Dave Feldman, who's not an academic, nor a scientist.
Is he an engineer?
Nor a researcher. He's a software engineer. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a perfectly fine occupation to be a software engineer. And, it does give him the ability to think critically about systems and things. However, he does not have the background to apply the knowledge in this field. And as such, he's made some pretty basic errors, and he's found some people that he can attract to those errors. And we're talking largely Nick Norwitz and Adrian Soto Motor, I think his name is, who are these currently active researchers who are now pushing this idea. I don't actually think they're doing us a service in that regard. They're doing some other studies around carnivore diet generally, which might be useful, but this lean mass hyper-responder stuff is nonsense, and it needs to stop in my mind.
It's chasing a dead end, it's artifact, it's it's a waste of time, in my opinion.
Yes, I agree entirely. It's not helpful, because at the end of the day, what it suggests is that there is this special population of people for whom cholesterol is not an issue. Well, that's nonsense, because cholesterol is not an issue for any of us. We are all in the same population. We're all human beings. None of us need to worry about cholesterol. So there's that. And then there's people like the lovely, lovely Dr. Sarah Pugh, who I've mentioned earlier, who is now getting into the whole sort of quantum area of biology and stuff. It's an area I've actually been studying independently myself for a number of years and have quite a good grasp of now. If I'm going to change up in the future and kind of drift away from the classic nutrition biology stuff, I'm going that way, I think. And it's not that I'm going to stop this stuff and completely go over there. I think I'm just going to add it in, which I think will just give me...
I rate it. It's top 2, maybe 3 hacks for me, some of that stuff. So, for sure.
And I'm going to do that. If I do that, I'm going to do that in a different way to what's being done by most of the people that are in that field currently.
Just interviews?
Well, I'm going to do it by way of actually using language and analogy that people can grasp.
Or unlike someone else?
Well, I'm talking about Jack Cruz.
Yes.
Who is a friend of mine. I know Jack. We've done several videos together. I have a lot of respect for Jack. I get what he's doing. But what he's actually doing is, with malice aforethought, on purpose, he's talking over people's heads so that they can't challenge him.
You're right.
The flip side is they also can't understand, so it doesn't help them. So.
The delivery is so important. So, I know with some points when you speak, you actually, because obviously you're a professor, you deliberately give a pause after certain things, especially when you know you've just delivered a big sort of wham dunk sort of thing. Yeah. It's important to use your speech in such a way that draws people in to entice them to listen, but doesn't use convoluted language. Some things are hard to do. Like biochemistry is hard. I mean, you talk about biochemistry, you talk about the cytosol, all these things. Unless you've got something in front of you on a screen, it's hard to, it's hard to. That is the word. A cytosol is a cytosol. You can't walk around it. Yeah.
So there are some big words that we have to use, absolutely. But you're quite right about what you just said. It's a technique that I learned very early on as an academic, in the very first year or so of my teaching, is that when you say a sentence, you have to let it rattle around in someone's brain before the penny drops. That's what the pauses are in my speech.
Yeah, it's helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we'll wrap that one up. That's been quite a deep talk, but it's given people lots of insights, a bit more background about you. I completely appreciate and understand the fact that it's tricky to really expand on your thoughts when you live with a condition that you just know as yourself. So it's really hard to pinpoint the right questions as well, but hopefully it's given people value, a little bit more of insight into you, autism, carnivore diet, all the hacks you recommend. Of course, link all the things I mentioned below. Do you have any last final words before you wrap this up?
Yes, thank you. I do. Look, I want to make this point really clear if I haven't already. Many of you that watch my stuff religiously feel like you know me really well. And that's what I want. I want you to feel like you know me well. I want you to feel like you have a relationship with me.
Introducing Beef Up Carnivore Bodybuilding Bible. The ultimate guide for men and women to lose fat and build muscle. And the best part, it's only $12. Don't miss out on the most detailed resource available. Get a copy now at compositionconsultant.com.
What I want you to understand, though, however, is the person that I am off camera in my own time is not the bloke you see here. This is a character. Okay? I'm actually a nice person. I really am. Ask anyone that knows me. Don't ask Pim. Anyone but Pim.
She's the one who's trying to get you diagnosed for all these nasty diseases and mental health problems.
Yes. Pathologizing me and stuff. Nasty woman. Yeah.
All right. Cheers, Bart. Take care. And like I said, I'll link everything below for the guys that are watching us.
Beautiful.
Cheers.
Right. Cool.
Build muscle and lose fat on the carnivore diet.